Hey guys, Carl here, Cultivate with Carl, and it is a great day here at the Shorts house. We're in Zone 9A, 2 blocks off the beach here in Mississippi, and it's a wonderful, wonderful day. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the breeze is blowing a little bit, and I've got my microphone inside my shirt, so hopefully that takes off a little of the wind noise. But, there's a lot going on with the garden, and finally it's a day I get out and do stuff in the garden. So there's been a lot of stuff going on. We've had rainstorms, windstorms. I was out of town for a weekend. Yesterday was the 4th of May, Star Wars Day, and I had a bunch of people over, and we did a bunch of hobby stuff, which was a lot of fun. But today is gardening day. So, as you can see behind me, there's been a lot of progress in the garden, and we've got some good things going on, and we got some bad things going on. So, we have to take a look at the happenings in the garden, see what we're going to do to fix them, and then see what we can do, because I can tell you right now, we're already producing a lot of cucumbers, got a lot of tomatoes ready to go, and then some of the squash plants and things like that are happening, but some of them have problems. We're going to take a look at that. So, let's go ahead and let's do the bed by bed overview, just like we always do. And then we'll come back and talk about the garden problems, and then we'll talk about some gardening solutions. There we go. So hang on. So what we've got going here, here's the onion and garlic bed. And in this bed, the garlic seems to be doing just fine, and so do the onions. Now, my understanding is that onions are not warm weather crops, and so eventually these are going to bolt, which means they're going to try and go to seed, and at that point there'll be no chance that we're going to get bulbs. Hopefully that's not what happens. Hopefully we get some bulbs, but I think how I'm going to try and hold this off a little bit is I'm going to have to put some shade cloth up, and we're going to have to shade this bed out a little bit, because you can see right now it is like 11 o'clock in the morning and we are getting full sun. And that's going to be like this till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, we'll see what happens. There's other things I've tried to plant in here, down that little main, where that space is, and they just haven't taken. And I really believe that's partly due to my water. My watering system, we'll have to talk about that when we get to the end. So let's go take a look at some of the other beds. Okay, here on the squash and zucchini bed, you can see that this squash plant has, the leaves have all yellowed, and some new leaves have come up, but they are also starting to yellow. And I'm not quite sure what's doing that, because the other one is not. And I'm not sure if this is because of sun scald or it's a nutrient problem. The new leaves don't seem to suffer this problem, but I had to put the cover on here to keep the vine borers out, which seems to have worked. So you can see in there that I've got some fruit going. I've got some squash coming out, and but the plants seem to be hindered a little bit by the netting, but that's the best netting that I have currently. For some reason, this is purple amaranth. It has sprung up in my beds. I don't know why. I took a bunch of it out before I discovered what it was, and I kind of let this one go to see what would happen. Now, the amaranth, I understand, is a weed, and it is edible, but I believe at some point it will flower, and that'll give the pollinator something to hang on to. And then we're going to see what happens. So maybe I'll let the amaranth become a thing. I'm not quite sure where it came from. I certainly didn't plant it. I believe it came from some of the store bag bought stuff that I bought, and then here it is. So there we go. One item of note, it doesn't look like I'm suffering any of the vine borer problem that I normally do suffer with these, because I've got them covered. But yesterday when I was out here, I did in fact see the first stink bug out here. Here comes C-130, Sound of Freedom. C-130. Here we go. Let's see if it's a Flying Jenny. Oh. Yep, Flying Jennies. Air Force Unit 403rd, flying out of Keesler. There you go. So if you triangulate the flight path, you can now figure out where my house is. So there you go. All right, let's look at bed 2. Bed 2 is rocking some corn and some amaranth. And like I said, I told you this amaranth just popped up everywhere. So the sweet corn, as it turns out, it did not grow as well as I thought it would. So if you can see right down the middle, there's empty spots, like one right here, there's a plant, and then there were 2 more plants. Those never even came up out of the ground. You can see right here we got something tearing it up. So some bugs are up in here, chewing on the plants. And we're going to have to figure out what the crap those are, because they're all down in there. I don't even know what that is. But this is my first time really trying corn, and it looks just to be these 2 plants affected. We're going to have to figure out what the crap's going on with those. But there we go, sweet corn and amaranth. Okay, over here in this bed, we've got bush beans and okra. These big plants right here are okra, and you can see I'm suffering some bug damage, but not like mammoth bug damage, and not that I need not that I feel that I need to come in here with a bunch of pesticides and, you know, shower down everything. I'm gonna let it ride. If you remember what I said this year, this was gonna be the year that I let things ride and just see kind of what happened. Now I did plant more okra than just 2, but only 2 came up. So I don't know if it's because I had old seeds or what the problem was, but we'll have to see. So it looks like if the peas produce, that we're gonna have a lot. There's certainly a lot of flowers, and the plants are looking okay. So we'll have to see what's going on there. The next bed over, the watermelons have overflowed, which I'm going to allow this. So I will cut the grass around them, and I'm going to let them spread as far as they will go. Here is some sort of a weed. Again, I do not know what kind of weed it is. And this, I guess, is the cost of having it coming in, you know, when you get stuff from outside, or maybe it just blows in with the wind, who knows. But it looks, check this out. Whatever is eating the crap out of this weed, right, is not eating my watermelon. So I'm just gonna let it go. This has gotta be some type of worm or something. And it is, it's doing its thing. But it is, so you can think about this plant right here as kind of like a trap crop for the rest of the bed. Because while it's eating that, it's not eating the rest of my stuff, which I find that okay. So most of these are watermelons, and I believe there's 1 pumpkin in here from the compost bin. Because I use, in Halloween, I get a lot of pumpkins, and I use them for compost, and all their seeds end up hitting the beds, and they'll sprout every once in a while. All right, there you go, the watermelons. Okay, over here we have the cantaloupe, and as you can see, they're looking a little dehydrated, and the weeds have grown up and around. So what I have to do is I have to get in here, and I have to weed this bed, and I have to water it. This bed is not on my watering system, and so I'm really dependent upon the nature to water, and we have not gotten consistent rain here in a bit. So the vines, the plants are vining out, they're looking good, and I'm gonna let them just take over this area if they want to. I'm gonna get in here and knock out the competition, and then keep them watered, and then that will be that. But these are going to be cantaloupes. This will be the first year I've tried cantaloupes. All right, let's take a run down the fence. Here we've got Black Beauty eggplants, and the plants are looking good. We're starting to get flowers on them, and nothing so far. Little bug damage, not too much. Normally in past years I'd be going crazy with the neem oil right now, but like I said, I'm just not doing that this year. These are Better Bell green peppers, and so the Better Bells, man, they're doing well. Look, I've already got a couple on there, and I already got 3 right there, and those are probably bigger than any of the other ones that I've ever gotten. These are California Windsor Sweet Bell Peppers, and these are also filling out mighty fine. These beds, these metal container beds, have always done really, really well for bell peppers and stuff like that. So here we have one of the tomato ICU tomatoes. I believe this was a celebrity, and it appears to be doing well. There are tomatoes on it. There's tomato down there. Let's see. No signs of blossom end rot. That's not the same for all the beds. Here's another tomato ICU plant with a big old weed in it. And we're not gonna let this weed stay. So these tomatoes are also doing well. Here we have the jalapeno pepper plant, and it looks like it's doing good. Plus, we have a zinnia coming up in the plant. That's probably a leftover from last year. And then here we have a sun gold tomato plant. And you can see I'm getting a lot of good flowering, a lot of good tomatoes, and man, do I like me some sun gold tomatoes. This is also a sun gold tomato plant. Looking good, tons of tomatoes. And a sun gold here, tons of tomatoes. These are zinnias with some sweet basil. This would be potatoes. Now you see the plants are starting to fall out. That means we're getting toward the end of the lifespan. We got some weed problems in the back, but we'll have to deal with that. But these potatoes, you know, it's getting warm. And these potatoes, they need a little bit more time before they're ready to go. So what I believe I'm going to do is move the pots back there with the cantaloupe, and then we'll just go from there. I didn't put anything in here, but that is for sure a zinnia coming up and a weed. And then here we have, crap, what's the name of this stuff? You put it on with your steak when you put it in the iron skillet. Rosemary. I'm very happy with the cucumber plants. The cucumber plants are doing great. You can see the wind blowing. In fact, there's a big old cucumber right there. Let's pause for C-130 again. The cucumber production on this fence has been great. The plants haven't come up like, you know, you can see there's another one right there. But the plants have stayed watered really well. So I've gone 3 cucumbers here, potato, cucumber, potato, cucumber. You can see I get cucumbers hanging off the fence. Cucumber, potato, big cucumber right there. And I just picked all these yesterday, so that cucumber wasn't there yesterday. And then we just alternate up and down the fence with the cucumber potato mix. And then the idea is when I harvest the potatoes, then I'll replace them with more cucumber plants. And so that way, when these cucumber plants stop producing, the next ones will pick up, and then we'll just alternate. These pretty purple flowers here are from the potatoes. And I could snip these off, but, you know, we're just gonna let them rock. That just means that we're getting to the end of the potato plant life, and the tubers are getting ready to be formed. And soon we'll be able to dump these pots and get on with it. But I'm really happy with the fence and how well it's done. I've got to do a couple upgrades to the water system, but everything is looking great. Okay, here we have tomato bed 1. And if you remember, these were indeterminate plants. This first one here is Cherokee Purple. I've never had luck with Cherokee Purple, but this looks like my year. I can see 1, 2, 3 at least good tomatoes on that. This next one was a Mr. Stripey indeterminate, and this seems to be doing the best. Mr. Stripey is going right up the pole here, and there appears to be plenty of potatoes on there. I do have a little damage on the leaves, but not all of them, and so we're looking good. This here was a Creole tomato. Now, the Creole tomato plant is not thriving. It is an indeterminate, and it's supposed to be big, but I think that there was a problem this year at the store with some of the tomatoes from the store-bought, the big box stores. I think they might have gotten a little exposure to some herbicides. This is a Bush Goliath, and it is supposed to be a big old plant, just like the other ones we'll see here in just a minute, and it has not thrived at all. And we've got Blossom End Rot. There's some classic Blossom End Rot right there. Let's look on the ones down here. Not so much on that one, but for sure on this one. And we'll look and see some others that have Blossom End Rot on them. The Bush Goliaths aren't thriving as well as they've had in the past. Here, this was the Creole. No Blossom End Rot, and it's got some tomatoes on it. That'd be funny if it had potatoes. But you can see here, like, the stem's doing weird stuff, where these are growing down instead of up. And that is a classic sign of aminopyrrolid exposure. And so graze on and stuff like that. So I'm betting $10. One of the big box stores got involved with some stuff that they put their seedlings in that had aminopyralids in it. I'll be honest with you, I don't know I'm gonna eat tomatoes off those little plants. But this is tomato bed 1. Okay, here we have tomato bed number 2, and as you can see, we have a lot of tomatoes. Tons of tomatoes, and everything's doing really well. So I can't complain. I think I just saw a stink bug roll up under there. There's some amaranth. The plants are looking good. I don't recall in classic Carl fashion what all these were. I want to say this is a celebrity. I want to say that's a celebrity. The most of this bed, I believe, was celebrities. But we can see that we've got good growth. We had good flowering on all of these. Yeah, these were determinants, so that means these are celebrities. So we've got some good celebrity growth here. Now, the celebrity that was right here, it for sure did suffer from aminopyralid damage. It was stunted. It grew up to about that first level, and then both the branches teed out, and there was no upward growth. So I pulled it, and then I threw it in the trash can. So do yourself a favor if you're a beginner gardener and look up the problems with herbicides. The aminopyralids is what they're called, and it also goes by the name of Grazon, and what it does to your nightshades. And it is totally detrimental to your flower beds. I do not believe that it is in my soil is the problem, because if it were, all my plants would be like that. I believe that the problem came, just like these two over here, those two, if you look at them compared to all the others, those are stunted. And that came from the manufacturer like that, you know. So I believe that the company, the big company, they probably got themselves into a little mix that they didn't understand. So as a reference, this is a bush Goliath. These are what bush Goliaths look like. Now, this bush Goliath is doing fine. Everything's good. Oh, nope, here we go. The bush Goliaths this year are getting blossom end rot. Now, let's talk about blossom end rot. Blossom end rot occurs when your tomatoes don't get enough calcium or nutrients. And people are going to be like, well, Carl, you got to go get a whole bunch of eggs and smash up the shells and put them in your mix and get some Epsom salt and throw it in there. That is true. Those are all good sources of calcium. I've seen people crush up Tums and put them in there. But the problem is mostly that when you're, hang on, C130. Okay, with blossom end rot, the problem comes in mostly when you're not consistently watering enough, or you're not watering in a consistent schedule, and the plants are having a hard time pulling nutrients out of the ground because of your watering pattern. In this row of beds, I have not completed the watering system, and I do have trouble with the consistent watering of these plants. I do not get good flow from these. This bed I'm kind of surprised, but we're going to talk about when we get done. I could see more blossom end rot damage on this bush Goliath, but when we come next door on the Sweet 100s, we don't have blossom end rot. So we're going to have to deal with that by plant, and I have a plan for that, and we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But as you can see with my Husky Reds, they're looking good, no blossom end rot. Husky Red, no blossom end rot. A little bit of bug damage. And then we get to the Sun Golds, no blossom end rot. And here's another stunted plant. This was a Sun Gold. So another stunted plant. I'm not on the tripod, by the way, if you can't tell. We're doing a freehand cam. So we'll have to see. But anyway, let's back up, take a look at it. The plants themselves are looking good. I've just got to get hold of what's giving them the blossom end rot. And then we're going to talk about that here in just a second. All right, guys, so there you go. There's the garden tour. It appears that things are mostly doing well. We have some sun scald on the squash. That's okay. It is already getting hot. This is May, and we're into the 80s already. Our nighttime temperatures are 70. So we're looking at 85 during the day, 70 at night. It's going to be another year like it was last year. If you remember last year, once the heat set in, then production stopped. So I anticipate that this is going to be the same, and that these tomatoes will be the only tomatoes I will get before the sun sets in, and the heat sets in for the summer. That's okay. We're going to try and do other stuff. We're going to try and do some more summer-related crops. I'll probably take another shot at corn. I will for sure be trying to get some okra in and things of that nature. But how do we take advantage and how do we save the tomatoes that we have? Well, okay. So for the blossom end rot, we talked about the things that people are going to say, like in the comments. So you're going to be like, oh, crush up some eggshells. Oh, get you some Epsom salts in there. Oh, do this and do that. Okay, cool. How that works, if I had time, I would crush up the eggshells, and then those have to deteriorate and become where the plants can take them up. I really believe, first of all, I only have blossom end rot on the Bush Goliath plants, which I did not have that problem last year with my Bush Goliaths. That's why I bought so many this year. I think it is a per plant problem. The other tomatoes appear to be doing fine, except for the ones that have the aminopyrrole problem. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to treat all the beds. If there was a problem with calcium in the whole bed, the other tomato plants would be affected by it also, but they're not. So what we got to do, we got to find a way to target the plants that have the calcium deficiency and get them specifically. And how we're going to do that is, now I'm not sponsored by these people or anything, but this is just one example of a product that I will use. And it is calcium nitrate fertilizer. Now, it's got 18% calcium in addition to a lot of nitrogen in there. And so nitrogen is good because it makes your plants turn green, it makes them bush up a little bit. Not really good to smack your tomatoes with nitrogen when they got a bunch of tomatoes on. So that may cost me a little bit, but at this point, I'm trying to save the tomatoes that I've got. So we're gonna apply this today, and then we're gonna watch it over the next couple weeks and see what happens. You know, if the blossom end rot stops, great. That's what we're going to do. And then we will have saved our Bush Goliath tomatoes, which are really good tomatoes, by the way. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to apply some rot stop. And this is, you spray it directly onto the leaves, and it's a foliar feed. It feeds through the leaves instead of through the roots. And this can immediately get aid to where it needs to be right now. So it's not like I'm breaking up eggshells and putting them in the soil, and then I gotta wait a few months for that to work and that whole process to work. Okay, great. I don't have that kind of time. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my watering schedule, and I'm going to set that watering schedule on a more consistent watering timer. So right now, 10 o'clock at night, my timer kicks on, and it goes 3 zones: the fence, the tomato beds, and then the other beds. And I'm doing that every other night. So what I believe I'm going to do is I'm going to set that up on a schedule where I'm not watering as deep, but I'm going to water a little bit more frequently on the tomato beds. So instead of giving them 20 minutes like I do now, I'll probably give them 10 minutes every night. And that way there'll be moisture there. Plus I'm going to go in and rework the tubing on the beds because for 3 years now I've been telling you I was going to fix the tubing on those beds, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that this year. In fact, I've got the tubing laid in the yard, and when you buy the tubing, it's all curled up in a big old bundle. And what I do is I lay it out in the yard and let the sun hit it for a few days, and that way it won't curl up when you cut it. So there's that. But I think that's it. I think that's where we're at. You know, the squash, I'm just not sure what I'm going to do with that. But I do believe through the summer I'm going to come back and plant more squash. I also believe what I'm going to do is get some more poles, and I'm going to put up shade cloth on the 2 main rows. The row along the fence will probably just stay like it is. But the 2 rows, I think I'm going to put in some 4x4s and then stretch shade cloth over them to see if I can grow through the summer. The tomatoes, when they're done, I'm going to pull them. So I'm not going to try and nurse them through the summer. I'm just going to pull them. And then come August, I'm going to plant some fresh starts in the house so that in September, 6 weeks later, the temperatures will come down and then I can plant tomatoes for a fall tomato season. And that will be that. Plus in the fall also we'll want to go with potatoes again. And then this year I believe I'm going to do a big winter crop of broccoli and cabbage and all that stuff. But I think this has been a long one. I'm excited to be out here. Golly, man, it's good to be out in the yard. It's good to be out in the sun. And it's good to be around the old squirrel patrol doing their job. And this year, I'm telling you, well, you know, already I've gotten a bumper crop of cucumbers. So I'm eating cucumbers like crazy. I'm just waiting for the tomatoes to catch up so I could get some tomato and cucumber salads. There's a real good chickpea salad recipe out there anyway. That's it. So I hope you're out in your garden. If you are, you know, drop a comment below. If you think I'm right or wrong on the blossom end rot, leave me a comment. You know, I'll listen to you. My motto is here that I kill plants so you don't have to. So there you go. I kill plants so you don't have to. So if I'm making mistakes, learn from my mistakes and don't repeat them. But if this works and I'm able to save the plants, and together we came up with a solution for blossom end rot that doesn't involve, some other methods, you know, we'll see if I'm right. So if I'm right, this is going to fix my problem, and I'm going to get some Bush Goliath tomatoes. If I'm wrong, I just have a whole bunch of blossom end rot and compost for the compost bin. No big deal. So that's that. But okay, enough talking. I'm rambling. This is Carl with Cultivate with Carl and the Squirrel Patrol, and we are signing off from Cultivate with Carl. Go out, get in your garden, have fun, and it's summer. Let's party. Woo!